Some drama last night, as you can imagine, and you may have watched it, at the Democratic National Convention as former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama took the stage. Politico's playbook broke it down like this. The political project last night for Barack and Michelle Obama, who spoke first, was to honor the legacy of Joe Biden and graciously pivot to a celebration of Kamala Harris. With that in mind, it was jarring when Michelle opened her speech with what sounded like a jab at the Biden era. Watch.
All right. Something wonderfully magical is in the air, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we're feeling it here in this arena, but it's spreading all across this country we love. A familiar feeling that's been buried too deep for far too long. Hope is making a comeback.
Well, wait a minute. The previous presidency she's talking about is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now, if she's trying to talk about Trump, that would have been many years ago. Is she lumping the two together? Is she specifically talking about the Biden era there? No matter what, she's punching at her own party at some point in that. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris appeared to snub the Obamas by skipping both speeches altogether. She held her own rally 90 miles away in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we showed you some of the greeting that anti-Israel protesters gave her when she skipped last night in Chicago and went to Wisconsin. Fox's Jackie Heinrich reports that choice was made out of sensitivity and respect to President Biden, who Obama reportedly helped push out. One source familiar with the situation told Fox the Obamas, and this is a quote, "The Obamas are still not on the White House's good side," end quote. Steve Hilton, Fox News contributor now. So we don't really need any palace intrigue going on that people write about and say, oh, maybe that's fantasy. We got the real stuff going.
Well, exactly. And Harris, as you pointed out, I mean, this whole scenario just exposes the lie at the heart of this convention, in fact, the heart of this campaign. They know that the country wants change after the disastrous Biden years, disastrous on every front. So they're trying to make out that somehow Kamala Harris is change. But of course, she's not change. She's more of the same. More of the same on the policy front. It's the same administration. You had Susan Rice the other day saying that Kamala Harris has been an integral architect and executor of the Biden-Harris administration. But they're trying to make out that this is some kind of difference. And in terms of the personalities involved, what is hilarious to me is you look at the Obamas and the way the media just endlessly lifts them up and praises them as these saintly heroes with their grace and style and their beautiful speeches and all the rest of it. But it turns out that in reality, these people, the Obamas, are the most viciously partisan and spiteful political operators in the whole scene.
Sounds like you're not surprised that it appeared that Michelle Obama maybe was going after the Biden era. Your last quick thought on that, and we'll move forward.
Well, exactly, because we know that Biden himself despises Barack Obama because he feels that he denied him a chance to run in 2016 and then pushed him out this time. So they absolutely can't stand each other. And so there's no surprise there in the way that they're behaving now.
All right, let's get to this. A new column is arguing that Democrats are using class warfare to try to have it both ways with voters. Here's Congresswoman Joyce Beatty with a familiar attack line on Donald Trump's running mate.
JD Vance likes to talk about how he's from Ohio, but as soon as he could, he ran away to Yale and Silicon Valley, cozying up with billionaires while trashing our communities.
The piece goes on to argue every word that crosses the teleprompter at the DNC is vetted by the Democratic Party, and so it is a Kamala Harris-approved message. A lot of criticism for this kind of trashing of JD Vance for moving out of poverty and on to Yale. One conservative columnist posted this message is a twofer. It hits with lower middle-class folks who resent anyone who tries to leave the community, and also with upper middle-class people who don't really want lower middle-class kids taking slots from their own children and generally lowering the tone of the place. Wow.
I mean,
there is more drama. Steve?
I mean, isn't this disgusting, really, Harris? I mean, what they're really doing is taking shots at something we all cherish, or I thought we did, the American dream. The American dream that anyone, whatever their background, can lift themselves up through hard work and have the opportunity to get anywhere in this country. That's what I thought we were all there to celebrate. And yet they're doing the exact opposite. They're denigrating it. It is really, really disgusting. And the cheapness of these attacks as well, from the party that endlessly goes on about how they're the nice, good people and Trump and Vance are the ones with these sort of nasty, mean messages. It's such hypocrisy. But underlying it is the substantive point. This is a party that is now against this core defining idea that should unite us, the American dream.
You know, it's so interesting, real quickly, kind of maybe even ironic. Michelle Obama, the last time we saw her in a venue like this at a convention speaking, was the one who gave the world the line, when they go low, we go high.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you're talking about is going lower when they go low.
Exactly.
All right. All right. Critics are going after Democrat Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky over this shocking comment that he made about Republican Vice President nominee JD Vance.
JD Vance calls pregnancy resulting from rape inconvenient. Like, inconvenience is traffic. I mean, it is, make him go through this. I mean, it is someone being violated, someone being harmed, and then telling them that they don't have options after that. That fails any test of decency, of humanity.
Was he suggesting that JD Vance? Well, look at this. Vance put it in his own words. Here's what he posted. What is this? Why is Andy Beshear wishing that a member of my family get raped? What a disgusting person. MSNBC went on to have Beshear back on later that day. And here's how the governor tried to clarify.
He's trying to make himself the victim. As a man, JD Vance will never have to face any of this personally. Obviously, I'd never wish harm on anyone. And it just, again, deflection, trying to make himself and Donald Trump the victims.
All right, wait a minute. If you ever needed an example of how intertwined or even maybe complicit the legacy and liberal media can be with the Democratic Party, they had the dude back on to try to say, no, I wish JD Vance's family member didn't get raped. I mean, come on.
I mean, the whole thing is so laughable. In fact, that whole interview there with Andrea Mitchell was set up in order for Andrea Mitchell and MSNBC to do cleanup for him. And she was laughing about this and siding with him and blowing off JD Vance's absolutely correct response there. Exactly as you say, they are the propaganda arm of this party. I mean, it's all one thing. They're all sitting there, just as you are, Harris, you know, in front of the convention and sort of pretending to cover it. They're not covering it. They are part of it. It is now, the media very clearly now, is part of the Democratic Party. And again, that is anti-American. It is not how our system is supposed to work.
No, it's not. And look, you can hear the sound checks that are going on behind me for tonight's big event speakers, you know, coming up, so on and so forth. There's enough drama going on. All we have to do is show up, maybe bring some popcorn, but just do our jobs and take down the information, do the interviews. I mean, it's really interesting. Have him back on so maybe he can take back those very explosive comments that could hurt the candidates eventually some kind of way. Wow. Steve Hilton, it's always great to have you in focus. Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.